Hello there and welcome. In this video I got you a tier list for all of the cultures that are currently included in Age of Wonders 4. We're right now running the Ogre patch with the Giant Kings DLC and all of the previous ones that have been released before. So we're going to go over all the cultures, and I also did a graphics for that. Link is in the description box below. And before we start, quick summary. I'm a PvE player. I don't play any PvP, so all of my perspective does not reflect any player versus player interactions at all. I play on the higher end of the difficulty rating, so I hope that this gives you some context about my opinion. So let's get started with the feudals. These guys, they've been reworked and they're big now. Monarchy, clear S rating. There is no thing that I got to say about it which would be really negative at this point. For the Monarch, powerful and can be applied even if the Monarch is not around. It's a spell now. And Monarch's Dominion gives you troops that don't have to pay upkeep while they're running alongside of their Monarch while being buffed. In all honesty, I wouldn't be too surprised if this one would be, if you're watching this in the future from where I'm recording this, would be nerfed, because this is really feeling extremely powerful. Altogether, with the troops that they now run, they're a really oppressive and powerful faction, and seeing that they were formerly the bottom end of the list, it's okay, I'd say, but I do expect nerfs on this one. So, the Aristocats are on the other end on an A rating. I find them almost disappointing, but that is only because the Monarchy should be actually rated S+. I find them pretty overloaded right now. Aristocracy gives you the capacity to run stupidly powerful troops alongside of their feudal lord. The trick here is that they gain HP while their hero gains renown, and they also gain morale. And this whole thing is very tanky and hero-centric at the end of the day. They get a troop that redirects damage to their heroes, from their heroes to themselves, bodyguard-like. And yeah, altogether, it is very powerful because heroes currently are probably the best unit in the game, if you would see it like that. But in short, it works really well, but it looks a little bit bad in comparison to Monarchy, but only because I feel like the bonuses on Monarchy are so stupidly overloaded. But Liege Lord isn't bad at all. I find it just way less powerful because it's so much more micromanagement compared to Monarchy, where you just have a king and you're good to go. So let's move on over to the high culture. I rate these as a clear A rating. They still age not as well as others, I would dare say, but their ability roster was very powerful already when they released, and Awakened is still a massive powerhouse with very interesting different effects. Awakened gives you the ability to also inflict Distracted, which opens up to flanking attacks very reliably via supporters and battle mages. Altogether, the damage output of these guys is strong on the beginning and can be kept up the whole game long. I only rate them not S rating due to two reasons. For one, the whole alignment agenda thing is really either not impressive in its effect or very cumbersome to play. Either way, this is just a worse version of the Oathsworn at this point. I see this with a high tendency to be reworked in the Archon DLC. And the other thing is their roster is innately a little bit jack of all trades thing, where they have no strong front line, so they need external forces, whereas the Monarchy basically can work with itself. Why I rate these S and these bad boys A. But don't get me wrong, high culture is very strong, very flexible and fun to play. So next on the list, the Oathsworn. Here I will rate again the different paths because they have wildly different playstyles. So Harmony Oathsworn sit on an A rating for me. The Harmonize ability of theirs is really powerful. Don't underestimate the effect of free healing that just triggers in battle without you having to lift a finger, except for following your oath. But this is really massive. The healing amount and the fact that it's completely free. But compared to the other paths, relatively harmless and weak. Their free city interactions are what I personally see so stupidly powerful, And the other thing is that their oath is very, very easy to level up. So they are probably the most economy strong path of the Oath Zone, and I really like playing them. But their troop strength is not the same as like with the other paths. The Righteousness path, I rank that one as an S. Their nobility trait is really just making them hit like a truck, and for some weird feeling reason that I can't really put my finger on, these guys just feel like a better version of the high culture at this point. Their major downside is that their Oath of Righteousness is boring. But that is really the only downside. Okay, you can't play evil. Ooh. But that is really why I rate them S, because the only downside is boredom, because you have to play goody two-shoes and you're a little bit limited in your style of warfare. But the reward is just, the spiritual damage is only not applied if you're flanking. So you have to fight face on, but if you just increase a little bit your defenses, you're golden. This is a very, very powerful kit, and I love it. And Strife, I sadly still rate it on C. Mostly because it's a very, very different playstyle than anything else. I mean, that is for one thing a good thing actually, but I still find it not so fun to play. Here's in short the thing. Their warrior soul effect gives you power on your troops if you are at the beginning not outnumbering the enemy, which means, yeah, okay, cool, we're getting those fire +5 damage now while we're also flanking. That's all we get in comparison to the righteousness guys, at the cost of being not outnumbering the enemy. I just don't find that really as an appealing trade. The numbers are just not fit for my taste. But the other thing that I just have to admit is that this makes a wonderful playstyle where you can just play hit and run. You can utilize this with necromancy extremely well, where you just send always one skeleton less than the enemy has troops in their army just to grind them down. Because, +5 fire damage in the ideal circumstances on tier 1 skeletons, yeah, you feel that. But here again, it's a very specific scenario where this stuff starts to shine. It is not generalistic enough. It might be fun when you're up for a challenge or up for a completely different thing, but I was very close to rating it D. I was only not rating it D because they finally fixed the problem that you lost Warrior Soul when you started to win. By now you actually get to keep it when you start decimating the enemy. Hooray! But yeah, I still find this the most underwhelming path of Oathzone. Now, Barbarians. Clear S rating. There is nothing wrong about the Barbarians except for their support units being a little bit lackluster. Savage Strike makes your troops hit like a truck, with the only major downside that you need to enable them to crit, and blight damage is among those things that you can easier pack up a resistance against. If you have a friend who's playing Barbarians, or if you know that Barbarians will be included, you can easily pack up some anti-poison skills and you're already better off against them than before. But the major thing here, which is not reflected here in this text box, is the fact that they get to break the mobility game entirely. Their scouts get to build outposts, they can refresh the movement of their troops with the Ritual of Alacrity, like you see it there, and altogether they get to move much more than anybody else, and they have the capacity to just grab whatever land they want. And, even if you never plan to make a city out of that place, you can grab magic materials, wonders, and then you just fortify the heck out of that outpost. Anybody who wants to take that thing needs to siege down your flippin' outpost before they can touch the stuff that you just casually conk. It is really annoying to play against these guys. It's a lot of fun to play these guys, and yeah, clear S rating for me. Primals. I don't go into all of the paths of the primals, mainly because they are very similar to one another in terms of broader playstyle. The spiritual animals here are mostly changing the favored terrain and a little bit of your damage cocktail, so to speak. I am underplaying this here a little bit. Altogether, their A rating comes from the massive flexibility that these paths offer you. You can adapt yourself to any situation that you want to. The other thing about the primals is that any build that makes them last just a little bit longer than a few turns in combat makes them really explode sooner or later due to the how's it called, the blessing of their the boon, their spirit animal's boon. This thing makes them pretty much oppressive in any longer lasting fight, because the not only you get that damage, you get that extra effect. Some of them are more devastating than others, but every one of these effects can be synergized with, and they are all pretty amazing. In short, there's really a lot of strength in them. I just don't rate them S, out of the simple reason that they always need something to synergize with, and if you don't do that, they can easily feel a little bit lackluster. But their synergy potential is really big. As you see there, there's a path for every taste, so to speak. Reavers are ranked for me on a C. I would like to call it a C plus though. The problem about the Reaver culture to me personally is that they have a very direct purpose, and that's beating up enemies very, very directly, but they are so rigid and unable to adapt into other playstyles that this is one thing that I really have to rank them down for. The other thing is I find them a little bit too much balanced around their cannons. This has left them with supporters that feel very, very weird. Everybody hates you when you're playing PvE. I think that Reavers would rank in a PvP scenario much, much higher because they have stupid fighting potential. But for me, out of a perspective as somebody who likes to play the game in very many different styles, Reavers have one path, that's warfare. And that's where they really excel stupidly at, but everything else is really hard to pull off with them. I think this might be the most controversial take of mine, because I actually like playing Reavers, but I still find them lacking in some department. As often as I play them, as much I find somehow that they left a bland taste in my mouth. I'm really curious to see what you guys think. Industrious, a clear B rating for me. They're sitting so in the middle right now that it's are actually quite boring. They are not able to deal tremendous amounts of damage quickly, but they're sturdy as heck. Their prospecting and their town productivity makes them always competitive if you play economy strong. But on the other hand, the bolstering mechanic and everything in between is just so micro-intense that it's really making me rip my hair out. And altogether, I just get way more impressive results on other cultures rather than with the Industrious. It is just they require a lot of build-up that isn't as impressive as the other effects than the other cultures do. As much fun as it is to play, and this nigh indestructible, bolstery, tanky playstyle is really fun to play, but I never had builds with the Industrious that gave me the same wow effect like I had with the ones that I rate S here. I'm really curious to see what you guys think. The Dark culture, they're getting the D for Dark. Well, jokes aside, currently I love playing them. I think you can get really good power out of them, but boy, do you more or less rely there just on the tomes and not so much on what your culture gives you. Their knowledge is cool, their city stability is cool, Call the Weak is cool-ish, but all of these things are just paling in comparison to the massive candy traits that all the others have. I think Call the Weak is the one thing that I love the most about the Dark. The rest is just, I don't know. To add insult to injury, their focus on shock troopers is interesting at all, but the Dark Warrior is among the worst shock troopers in the game currently, and the Dark Knight sadly as well. And yeah, until these get a little bit buffed up or bettered, they will sit at the end of the list until then. Mystic culture. So here we have again 3 branches to cover. Attunement, clear and obvious S rating. This is the old and original Mystic path. If you played the game before they were branched out into 3 paths. Starblades gives you fighting power per spell cast, and you use your echoes to just be able to speed up map spells and cast even if you have no battle cast spells left, as long as the mana can carry. It's all paid by echoes, and it is stupidly strong. This combination here is one of those where you can just rely on battle magic without thinking about anything else. It's easy to get enough echoes in. The Starblades are synergistic with tons of different builds. You know, it's just one of those things where you just get a reward for playing some strategical card, which is very, very powerful, and no downsides. I love them. The School of Potential sits on a B rating for me. Sadly, because I really like what they do, their overcharge mechanic lets you cast harder spells, and they also have a mechanic called Dissonance, which allows you to make these stacks explode when you cast a spell. You apply them on the enemy, and then you cast a spell, and then they go boom. It's quite nice and nifty, and probably the best part about the Potential School, but the Arcane Inspiration thing is where I think it could be easily an A or S rating, but here's the deal. You cast your spells, and then you can lock them for a while to gain a random bonus, and that is the thing that bothers me. A random bonus. We could have the most terrific bonuses of them all in one scenario, or we could get some meaningless bonuses in another scenario. And the worst thing is, the bonus only ever changes if you lock the spell for a while, unless something got changed. But this is something, I don't like randomness in this scenario, because both other paths give me absolutely deterministic and reliable tools to work with. Potential, yeah, the overcharge mechanic is cool, really. It's really, really cool. I like that. I don't want to make it sound bad, but the Arcane Inspiration really didn't please me too much. But I personally don't like randomness too much. It's just a thing. So, summoning, clear and obvious S rating. These guys are just wow. Unlike the Starblade guys, here we gain strengthening and healing for magic origin units whenever we cast spells, which is amazing. We use Astral Echoes to level up magic origin units, and we also have more morale when we are fielding magic origin units for our cultural units. The thing here is, these guys are so flexible. There's so many things you can do. Elemental builds, just invest echoes and have a tier 1 elemental turn to a tier 3 elemental in turn 10. It is amazing what you can do there, as long as you can pay them. And you also can turn your summoned creatures into elite troopers super easily. Astral Resonance gives you such a big bonus while you're casting spells. Altogether, the biggest advantage of the School of Summoning here is, yet again, there's so many different ways I could play that, and it's always gonna be strong. So, that's that. All of the cultures covered. I think that, or I'm pretty sure that, I will get some heavy disagreements here and there, but I do enjoy these discussions because after both other tier lists I made so far for Age of Wonders, I learned so much from you guys, so thanks for that. I hope this video gave something back to you. Leave me a like, leave me a subscribe, leave me some comments, or whatever tickles your fancy. Feel free to support the channel financially. There's donations, YouTube channel memberships, or whatever you find appropriate. Many thanks to all the supporters, and a lot of thanks for watching this video up until the very end. Appreciate you taking that time, and I hope it was helpful. See you soon.